Well, I'm joined now by Simon Jackman, a professor of US politics at Stanford University. Professor Jackman, welcome to the program.
Hello, how are you?
The Democrats have lost the House but kept their Senate majority. That looks to be the outcome. Any surprises for you?
No, not at all, actually. I'm surprised that I'm not surprised, if anything. This night has gone amazingly according to script. The polls, there was a lot of commentary in the last 24, 48 hours about is there a way these polls could be wrong, but the night has played out amazingly according to script.
Well, I know it's very early days and it's difficult to judge, but what sort of a uniform swing do you think we're looking at? I've heard around 7%. Would that ring true?
Yeah, that's about right, about 6 to 7%, and that's going to translate into about 55 seat gain for the Republicans in the House, which is roughly what they got in 1994 when Bill Clinton and the Democrats suffered a midterm loss of quite large proportions, similarly large proportions, back in 1994.
Any word from the White House yet?
No, but tomorrow will be a very interesting day, and immediately, you know, people are starting to speculate about where to from here for the Obama administration. And I'm reminded of 2006 when the Democrats took control of the Congress, and Don Rumsfeld didn't survive as Secretary of Defense for much more than 24, 48 hours after that election lost by the Republicans in 2006. And one wonders if a similar fate may be awaiting an Obama cabinet member in the next day or so.
Could you guess which one?
I think the Secretary of the Treasury might be having a look over his shoulder tonight in Washington. The economy has been the issue, galvanizing a lot of anger against the administration. Geithner has been in the crosshairs, not doing enough to address this chronic unemployment situation in the United States. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him offering his resignation or murmurs to that effect at the very least in the next day or two. He's been seen as too close to Wall Street. That has directly sort of set off the Tea Party movement, that the federal government was taking care of Wall Street, not Main Street. Geithner, coming from the New York Fed, has always been seen as a little too cozy with his former Wall Street friends and colleagues, and so if I had to pick one, it might be Geithner, I'm afraid.
Let's look at the Tea Party. How did they fare? Because it wasn't really the sweep that some people were forecasting.
No, but I think they've done what most people were thinking they would do, and that is they've served notice to Republican incumbents. And that is, it used to be that if you're a Senate incumbent, if you lost in the general election, senators, particularly Republican senators, were not being knocked off in primaries. And what's happened is the Tea Party has served notice to Republican members of Congress that no one is safe. You toe the line, you play to the conservative base of the party, or you can expect a primary challenge. And I think that's a real game changer on the right of American politics, and that it'll make for very interesting politics inside the Republican caucus in the next Senate in particular, and the House as well.
Also ramifications, though, surely for Barack Obama's Democratic Party, because if the Republican agenda is now going to be pushed to the right, then that's going to mean any opportunity for negotiation is lessened even further.
Yeah, absolutely. I think to the extent we had gridlock in Washington over the last 2 years, I think we're just going to have even more so over the next 2 years, and we're going to have this amazing chess game. I think we can expect the House to try and put some legislation up in Republican hands, trying to repeal the health care reforms, and at some point either the still barely democratically controlled Senate or Obama himself has to turn that back, and there's going to be an interesting game of pass the parcel, as it were, between Democrats in the Senate and Obama. You kill this, no, you kill this, and that will be very much the dynamic, I think, of the next 2 years, seeing what arms Obama can twist among those last Democrats that bear majority in the Senate. That'll be a big part of the dynamic to look for over the next 2 years.
Can we just go back a step? Because one thing that's difficult for people in Australia to understand is that we talk about gridlock now, but as you just said, it's been anything but smooth sailing for Barack Obama in legislative terms over the past 2 years, and yet he had control of both houses of Congress. So how was it that even though he had control, he didn't have a smooth run?
well, there's control and there's control, and there's control in the American sense. The parties are so much weaker in the United States than in Australia. And what happened was that Obama came in with the rhetoric of a Franklin Delano Roosevelt or a Lyndon Johnson, mapping out an expansive, ambitious legislative agenda. But the truth is, I don't think he ever had the support in Congress that he needed to do so. There were many, many members of the House, many of whom have lost their seats tonight, where McCain beat Obama. So these were Democratic House members representing relatively conservative parts of the country for whom the agenda that Obama was mapping out really wasn't playing well at home. It was always going to be a bridge too far for those members of the House. So I never thought that Obama really had the majorities he needed to match the rhetoric that he was and the promises he was making in the 2008 campaign. And I think what we're seeing tonight here in the States is some of that coming home to roost, to the extent he was able to persuade some of those people to take risky votes, as it turns out. They're paying the political price tonight with career-ending election losses in many cases.
Professor Jackman, thank you so much for your thoughts, and we'll come back to you in about an hour's time for an update.
Thank you so much.